Houston Astros won. They won. Finally, they beat the New York Yankees, and all it took is Jose Altuve taking his shirt off. If that's all it took, we could have done that earlier, right? John Boy, hey, he took his shirt off. Are y'all happy now? You can go tweet all about that and make some videos and make everybody all happy about that. But we'll talk about that and more on this episode of the Locked On Astros podcast, where Jose Altuve walked it off.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Heisman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chansey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Heisman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talk Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can I find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive. Love beating the Yankees. Always Stros.
All right, we have special guests. My mom used to sell him car insurance. We have Mike Stanton. Mike Stanton, where can I find you at on Twitter?
Mike Stanton 29, and tell your mother hi for me.
All right. Wow. This was a epic comeback. I mean, this was a devastating series for the Houston Astros. This was a statement series for the Yankees. This could have been sweeping the Houston Astros going into All-Star break. But what happened with the 14 walks, which was a franchise high for the Houston Astros, for what happened in the ninth inning, everybody can just breathe a kind of a sigh of relief. I don't know, Mike, if you've seen something like this, but this was, I don't think I've seen a game like this. The relief that Astros fans kind of felt. And I think Brian McTaggart kind of joked around. If Martin Maldonado hits a home run, if Jose Altuve hits a home run, but Jose Altuve did hit the home run. And who did the Yankees avoid? They avoided Chapman, and Chapman didn't even lose it for them. But we'll talk about this and more on today's Locked On Astros podcast. And don't forget that the draft is going on. And if you want to find out about all the players drafted in this draft, go listen to Locked On MLB Prospect Draft podcast with our friend Aram Layton. He has all the info and all the players drafted. And wherever you listen to your podcast, go listen to Locked On MLB Prospects. And don't forget, we are on Locked On Astros, and we are on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, and go listen to it on Spotify, wherever, and we are building this YouTube channel. So thank you, Mike Stanton, for joining this podcast, and we're glad to have you. I know you had a little bit extended show. It seemed like your after your post-game show kept on going, especially after that big win. When's the last time you remember having such a big win for Houston Astros?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I really don't remember. I mean, a 6th spot in the bottom of the ninth, especially with how they got there. I mean, they hadn't scored 6 runs in the whole series. They hadn't scored 6 runs, and it seems like a week. So it was really just a crazy situation that all started with basically a swinging bunt, about a 50-foot single by Yuli Gurriel. And then, just a few minutes later, the Astros are walking it off. It was truly remarkable, especially when you look at how feeble the offense had been over the last 3 or 4 or 5 days.
And that's what I like to focus on is the last part of this game, because after these 2 losses, you have the number 1 offense coming in. They had come in right before they had lost that last game before that last game against Oakland. So they have lost 3 in a row, but they had won 6 in a row before that. They've been real streaky this year, but everybody's, if Framber does this in the playoffs, we won't go far. If this and that, and everybody's just kind of teetering on, they've seen this team be so successful all season. When they don't fire on all cylinders, or when players are out and their kind of young guys are in, we kind of tend to panic. We've really been spoiled these last few seasons with the offensive juggernaut that the Astros have been. But from your perspective, when you look at guys like Framber Valdez kind of struggling, what do we think is going on with Framber? Because I want to talk more about Jose Altuve, but you were a pitcher in the major leagues. You have 3 world championships under your belt. You have a ton of playoff experience. What do you see right now from Framber Valdez that he may be going through or dealing with?
Well, one of the things that's made him so good last year and this year is that he's really matured as a pitcher. And what he's done more than anything else, he still pitches with a lot of emotion, but he's learned to keep that under control a little bit. The thing is, he has excellent stuff. Actually, I think he's got the best stuff on this team, some of the best stuff anywhere in Major League Baseball. And I'm not talking about just velocity. I'm talking about velocity, the movement on the fastball, the devastating curveball. He throws a four-seam fastball on occasion. He's got a pretty good changeup, but doesn't have a whole lot of faith in it. But when you just look at the whole picture, I mean, this guy is as good as there is in Major League Baseball. The problem is with all that movement, sometimes it's very hard to repeat his delivery. And so he's got a real complex delivery. And, sometimes he just gets out of whack. And now, he struggled today. He struggled his last time out, but, he's still a guy that has enough wherewithal now, and he will get even better with this at keeping his head about him, keeping his wits about him, and still executing just enough pitches to get himself out of trouble a couple times. And right now he can't repeat that delivery. He's got a tough time repeating that release point. We haven't seen him do this very many times, but 6 walks in an outing is but we'll just call it a little excessive.
14 walks overall as a team. That's not very Astros-like. And so do you see the Astros going out and needing to get another bullpen arm?
Always. And that's got nothing to do with the Astros bullpen. Every team is looking for bullpen arms every single year. Every competitive team is looking for someone to help in that bullpen. And, we've seen this season already with these young pitchers in the Astros bullpen, that sometimes they look like world beaters. Like there's nobody that's going to touch them. Then there's other times they look like they have, they did a little bit today. Blake Taylor's a guy that usually spends all of his time in the strike zone. He had 4 walks today. I mean, just a very unique situation that doesn't happen very much. And, you can chalk that up to a couple different things, including, maybe a little fatigue. It can be, just a bad day. Concentration wasn't there. Who knows? It could be anything. But, going in there and throwing strikes as a reliever sometimes isn't the easiest thing to do.
And a win like this today, especially after the game on Saturday, which was an absolute stellar performance by Garrett Cole. The last time before they reopened the ballpark, my son and I attended a game was in 2019 when Garrett Cole struck out 15 batters against the Rays, and probably one of the best pitching performances I've ever witnessed in person. And I've witnessed a lot of pitching performances, but that one on Saturday probably matched it as far as moxie and determination that Cole had. 129 pitches, the most any pitcher's pitched all season long. That's unheard of. This isn't 1985 anymore, Mr. Stanton. This isn't the days of old, right? This is the new dawn. This is the new age where, man, they get to 100, they're cutting you off. And, there were actually a lot of Yankees fans commentating on, what are we doing with our $324 million pitcher, throwing him 129 pitches in July. And I mean, that was almost debilitating, it seemed like, for the Astros, because they couldn't get anything going. And then today they snuck up and they became that juggernaut. And that's what this team has. It has character, and they're never down and they're never out. And that's why I have confidence in this team. Hey, we got 2 innings left. Hey, we got 3 outs. This team can do it.
In the Astros pregame on AT&T SportsNet, I actually said that off the top, that, Astros fans know as good as anyone that a motivated Garrett Cole can be a very tough customer, and that's what we saw last night. We saw a guy. Now they hadn't hit in, well, up until the ninth inning in today's game. They really hadn't hit in about 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
They did hit a couple home runs early in the game, but they were just solo home runs. Garrett Cole was just outstanding. I mean, is that pitch count excessive? Yeah, it is. I mean, really, the never exceed number in Major League Baseball right now for starting pitchers is 120. And they went well over that. But I also think it just shows the state of the Yankees bullpen. I also think it shows how they feel about Garrett Cole when he's going well. And you saw when Aaron Boone came out and talked to him late in the game, he was not having anything of it as far as Aaron taking the ball from him. He was going to finish that game one way or another. And he ended up doing just that. It was just, Garrett is as good. When Garrett is on, he is as good as, well, really anyone we've ever seen. I mean, he's got that kind of stuff. He's got that kind of attitude on the mound. But, the Astros, it's crazy because as good as this offense has been, just like we talked about the young guys in the bullpen, there has been some times and even some extended period of times this season that the offense has just gone away. Like there's just the quality at bat. I'm not even talking about base hits and runs. Just the quality of that bat just isn't there. And again, today, what did it take? It took, their MVP caliber hitter right in the middle of the lineup in Yuli getting a swinging bunt base hit. That's what started it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that if you asked betonline.ag who would win this game after the 8th inning, they probably would have had the Yankees. So Brett, tell us a little bit about betonline.ag.
So BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Baseball season obviously is in full swing. We've got the Home Run Derby coming this evening, and who's going to win that Home Run Derby? Shohei Ohtani. I'm thinking that's my pick. But if you want to bet on anything, whether it's the finals and Chris Paul winning his first NBA finals, whether it's, who's going to draft who in the NHL draft or UFC, before the next pitch, head over to BetOnline on your laptop and mobile device and check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore. This is your chance to get in the game. As I did during the Super Bowl, I won a little bit of cheddar. I tried my shot at sports betting. I took their advice, and hey, I won a little bit of money there. Head to the website and use your mobile device and sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Use a promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.
Thoughts by Dusty.
I noticed what he did wrong. I noticed what he did. That was wrong. That's my homeboy. That was wrong. Hey, man, people could do what they want to do. He's one of the biggest, baddest dudes out there. That was Dusty Baker on what Aaron Judge did with the whole, it's cold out there. I don't.
Why didn't you just tell?
I get what Dusty. Yeah, why can't you just tell the truth? Like after the game, Judge was just like, he was like all stone faced. He was just like, yeah, it was cold out there. I was just trying to say it was cold. And then they're like, you weren't trying to send message. He was like, well, you can interpret it however you want.
Yeah, whatever. No, I was being kind of cruel. I was like, well, maybe he was talking about his teeth being fixed. But anyways, that's really low blow. But Aaron Judge is typically one of those guys. And then when Gary Sanchez hits the home run, and then Rougned Odor of all people, who I don't even know why the Yankees got him. The Rougned Odor of all people has the coat putting on Gary. I'm like, okay, these guys are talking it up. Now, what was great was the back and forth. Martin Maldonado with the jersey pull at first, coming around. And, Martin Maldonado to talk smack about hitting a home run, I think he's really famine or feast. This guy, he always has sneaky power. If he gets a hold of a baseball, it's not staying in the park. That was great to see. But, man, when he skirted that question, I was like, okay, he knows exactly what he's doing. And, yes, the whole rent-free thing comes in, At the end of the day, the Astros, had the last laugh. It was crazy, though. Yankees fans showed up. That first game I went to Friday night, the first 2 runs they scored, one of my friends had just got to the game. He said, I thought the Astros scored, and I heard the crowd cheering. It was the Yankees. And I was like, no, they're everywhere. And I actually had some pretty decent interactions with them, so I got to give them props. They handled themselves with class for the most part. But, man, that was so great. Martin Maldonado started it. Then Gary Sanchez pumped it up. And then, and what's great about that Altuve home run, that pitch, it was like he golfed it. It's like, does he have a 9-iron in the bag that he's for him, it's like Top Golf, it's just like I go up there and just hit a 9-iron on a par 3 and get a hole in one,
He is so fun to watch. And this is important for every hitter. Timing is everything. Okay. The reason pitchers throw off-speed pitches is to mess up the timing of the hitter. And when Jose is going well, his timing is very good. The problem is when Jose is not going well, he swings at everything, and he's always really, really early. If you look back, when you see the replay of the home run tonight, it wasn't a great swing. He had good balance, but yeah, the pitch was actually about mid-shin high. It was well below the strike zone, but the timing was good enough. And it didn't even look like a prototypical home run Jose Altuve swing. It was almost like he just kind of, dropped the head of the bat on the ball. He wasn't off balance at all. And the ball, and he knew it as soon as he hit it, that it was going well out of the ballpark. So just an incredible thing for Jose to go through, because everything, Jose he's salt of the earth, man. He is as good as you can get as far as the person he is. And he's been through a lot. The crazy thing is, he walked off on his birthday. He in New York, a 3-run homer, walked off the Yankees again, and it was on the exact opposite pitch. It was a fastball, literally eye high. Somehow or another, he tomahawked it out of the ballpark. So he's hit a fastball in his eyes and a breaking ball off his shoe tops for 2 walk-offs against the Yankees this year.
Yes, and so I think they were sending a message. So Paul Valdez is asking me to take my jersey off to see if I have a buzzer. I'm sorry, I have a future girlfriend that doesn't want to see my ugly tattoo, so I'm sorry I cannot do that. But I think that what Altuve did was, and he basically said after the game, or somebody said, was he was not going to go through another celebration without having them rip off his jersey, because he didn't want to go through this whole controversy.
Any say in it.
Huh?
I'm not sure he had any say in it.
Yeah. So whoever decided that, they're like, rip his jersey off.
Martin, he was like a heat-seeking missile. He was like, get over here and just rip that shirt off. And that's what was so fun about it. And so with that being said, there's been a lot of talk this season about umpires. And as this whole robo-ump thing comes up more and more, there was a pitch that I actually retweeted someone had that ATT SportsNet actually showed the replay of from Joe Smith. It was a pitch right down the middle, and the umpire called it a ball. As a pitcher, what is it? Is it an extra hurdle that you have to get over mentally when you are clearly throwing strikes and the ump is missing it? Or is it just something going to the game, that's going to happen and you just move past it? Like, are fans more concerned about that than the actual pitcher on the mound? Or is that a mental, is that fake mentally?
Oh, no, the pitchers are absolutely and the hitters on the other side, when there's a bad call for them, they're locked in. It's pretty incredible to watch some big league hitters that, you got a ball that's literally 1 inch off the plate and they know exactly where it is. And if it's called a strike, they're complaining about it. And vice versa on the pitcher. When the pitcher executes a pitch, he knows if it's in the zone or not. You can watch the reaction to the catcher. And can it fluster you? 100%. I've been in those situations that it has cost me, that I get so upset that I don't execute the next pitch, give up a hit, walk a guy, whatever it is. Now all of a sudden I'm in really big trouble when, to err is human. Now, the pitch that you're talking about, this wasn't even the vicinity of the edge of the strike zone. It was all on the wide of the plate. It was the top half of the zone, but easily in the zone. Now, the only thing is Joe Smith does throw from Laredo. He does throw that sidearm delivery. The ball's coming in at a little different angle. But, every time I tell people, every time one of these calls, and it happens, every time one of these calls show up, I say we are just that much closer to the robo ump.
Exactly. And, things like that. But also Mr. Corona said, I won't lie. I turned off the TV after the 8th inning. I wish I would have kept watching. And, baseball is a funny sport. And so you're out there as a pitcher, you're grinding, you're giving up runs, your guys are walking them, and then the hitters are picking up the pitchers. Is that what happens a lot of times where, like, do pitchers and hitters ever get onto each other? Like, hey man, I need y'all to hit. I'm out there throwing strikes. Or is that a no-no? We're on the same team. We know we got each other's back regardless of what's happening.
It really depends on the personnel on the team, and it depends on the situation that the team is in. If the team is struggling and, the pitchers are doing a good job, but the hitters just can't get it together, yeah, everybody gets frustrated. It's not always frustrated at the opponent, but, that's where your veteran leadership comes in. That's where having teammates, vocal teammates that can say, hey, hold on, that doesn't do us any good. We're all pulling on the same side of the rope. You got to make sure that you don't turn on each other, because that's when the wheels can really fall off.
So I kind of want to give the Yankees fans a Built Bar after that walk-off homer, because I just feel bad for them, just because, this happened earlier in the season too, and it wasn't off of Aroldis Chapman, but you feel bad for them. So Brett, tell us a little bit about Built Bar.
I don't know if one Built Bar or two Built Bars is what they need, because they're in 4th place in their division, but I digress. Built Bar is an amazing protein bar. It's the best tasting protein bar in the business. It is actually wrapped in 100% chocolate, and they have amazing flavors: mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel. The sky's the limit with Built Bar. Let me give you why they're healthy. 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories ranging from 130 to 180, only 4 to 5 grams of sugar, 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. They're always tasty. They always got the best flavors. And like myself, I have one twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening, or if I work out, I slam one right before I go to the gym and work out. Built Bar is the best tasting bar in the business. It's not overweighted with extra sugar, extra calories, and it's great. And it's literally, you're eating a candy bar. You could go get a Snickers, but that's unhealthy for you. Go grab a Built Bar if you want one. So right now, Built Bar is the official protein bar of the U.S. track and field team. That's pretty cool. Right now, they have an offer. It's called, if you type in the code LOCKED15, LOCKED 15, you'll get 15% off your first order. If you use that promo code LOCKED15, you'll get 15% off. Go to BuiltBar.com and let them know that we sent you.
All right. So, Mike, is there any arms you're looking at for the Astros to trade for at the trade deadline?
I don't have any off the top of my head. It's one of the situations that if there's a good arm out there, there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be vying for his services. What I think is more likely to happen, instead of being like a top flight reliever, I think there's a better chance of them getting maybe a veteran guy that maybe has a few miles on his arm, but and hasn't thrown the ball that well. I want to say bargain basement shopping, but the Astros, I don't really know how much they have to offer to bring in someone. I had somebody ask me the other day, can they go out and get Craig Kimbrell? And I'm like, yeah, that would be a great addition, but who are you going to give up? Because it was probably going to take somebody off the major league roster, and usually you don't take away from your 26-man roster when you're, a championship caliber club. You want to keep those guys together and add to it, not subtract to add to it.
Yeah, it is going to take some sacrifice. I know Rogers is out there from Minnesota. I know they mentioned, Gallegos from the Cardinals. I still like the guys that are on the bottom tier teams. I like the Tigers. They've got a couple arms in Cisneros and Soto. The Orioles have guys like Fry and gosh, the other guy's name is escaping me right now, but Scott is the guy's last name, but they're both phenomenal arms. And my whole thing is, if they can be great on a team that doesn't win a lot, imagine what they could do with run support. But then the question comes in, who do you give up? Because they're going to be looking at someone like Abraham Toro, someone like Chas McCormick. They're going to be looking. They're going to be. You think higher than that?
You're looking at. If I were on team, another team, and you were asking for one of my big closers or one of my big relievers, I'm looking at Christian Javier, and there's no way they're giving up Christian Javier.
Wow. Yeah. So now with that being said, with Crane telling Click, I don't care if we go over the luxury tax. The hurdle still is, who do you give up? Not necessarily the money. The money's not the problem. It's the personnel is what you're saying.
Yeah, it takes two to tango. I mean, you have to have something to give up. And you know the sign of any good trade. Both of you guys have been following baseball for a long time. A good trade helps both teams and hurts both teams.
It makes sense. Yeah, that's a great statement. You know, it's funny. That's one of those unprofound things that sound really profound when you hear it. And you're like, that makes sense. Wait, I should know that already.
All right, Brett, are you ready to get your shirtless Jose Altuve tattoo?
I don't do tattoos because they're permanent, and I'm going to get old. And oh, there you go. We could do henna art, henna Jose Altuve. Yeah, we could do that. We could do like a swimsuit edition.
Yeah. So I know that we got Jose out. We have Bregman possibly starting a rehab assignment pretty soon. We have Carlos Correa hopefully on a short absence, and Diaz starting a rehab assignment pretty soon. What do you think about Robel Garcia? And do you think that there are other options at the minor league level instead of Robel Garcia?
Yeah, I don't. I think that the guys that are in the minor leagues that the Astros feel like can help this team, they're already up. Guys like Abraham Toro, Diaz coming back. Diaz is a great. You got people need to remember this guy's a former National League All-Star. This guy can really, really hit, and defensively, he's taken a big step forward in several positions. When his first, I think Correa was hurt in his first season. And he played shortstop, and he had a tough time. But he's taken he's worked hard, taken a lot of steps forward. And his only issue right now is he seems to be kind of injury prone, whether it's, wear and tear injuries, or if it's like something that happened here, he gets hit in the hand. I mean, it just, some guys just seem like they get hurt. Since he's been an Astro, that's been the case. But I think that if he can stay healthy, he can be the answer to a lot of that bench problem that the Astros may have.
Now, I don't know if you guys saw this, speaking of relief pitchers, but Josh Reddick gave up home run number 675 to Albert Pujols. The Diamondbacks were playing the Dodgers. They were losing 20-1, and and Reddick threw a meatball right over the center of the plate, and Albert Pujols just rocked it. And so, we've got guys that are position players. Now, my question to you is, Mr. Stanton, would you be willing to come out of retirement if the Astros said, man, we really need you?
Oh, of course. The older I get, the better I was. So, absolutely. Now, hey, I'll tell them right now, I don't have the Express, but my off-speed stuff is still pretty good.
Okay. Nice.
All right, so I know that we have some news about the Futures team. I think what happened with I can't think of his name right now.
Pedro Leon?
Yeah, Pedro Leon. I couldn't think of his name real quick, but he made a appearance in the Astros the Futures game for the Astros. He made a pinch hit at bat, you said.
Yes,
right?
he was a pinch hitter, and he struck out. So he didn't really get to do a whole lot in.
The Astros had an appearance at the All-Star game.
That's the key. He was there.
He was there, and you know what?
You know what? There are not very many very good baseball players. They don't get the invitation to the Futures game.
Right.
No, right. And, I think that shows just how high he is because, they've got some other quality guys in there, even though they're not the deepest or considered the best minor league system right now. That's good that he got to be there, the experience with the other players and stuff like that. So,
what are your
congrats to
thoughts
him.
about that? I don't know if you're kind of allowed to talk about that on the broadcast, but what are your thoughts about the Astros deciding to bow out on that? I know it wasn't because they were afraid of being booed, but I think that, in my opinion, I think that they decided to kind of take a step back for the sake of the game because they don't want to be taken away from the experience of the All-Star game. Who wants to go there and just to be booed, not because they're afraid of the boos, but it's an All-Star game. You're supposed to be there to be celebrated, not to have the booing experience.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and they all have legitimate reasons for not
Right.
going. Who it's really unfortunate for are Astros fans and baseball fans because you've got one of the best teams in all of baseball, the best offense in all of baseball. It doesn't look like there's any representation there at the All-Star game for the Astros, and that is unfortunate. But you make your plans, you make your decision, and then you just have to stick by it.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that I actually had some friends that are up there this weekend and they're wearing all their Astros gear. And, it's funny. They even have pictures of the mascots hitting trash cans in their pictures. And I'm like, come on, man. So, but they're just kind of wearing it as a badge. They were there to watch, Pedro Leon. But I do like how the players recognize, hey, we know, we want to thank the fans for voting for us.
Yeah.
And it just stinks for me because that was a motivating thing for me to watch the All-Star game because our guys were there. But hey, I guess there's always next year. I think the real crime in all this year, the All-Star voting, is Yuli Gurriel not making the team because he surely deserves to be there. He surely deserved to have a vote and be on that squad.
There's always snubs, and I think Yuli may be one of the biggest ones in all of baseball now. The two first basemen that did make it, they both hit more home runs. They both have higher OPS, but you can't tell me that they've had bigger hits than Yuli. Yuli, to tell you the truth, there's guys that have higher numbers than Yuli on the team, but there's nobody that's been as consistent and as consistently good as Yuli Gurriel. So it is unfortunate that he's not going to be there. But it doesn't take away from the success he's had. And I think that's where his teammates can come in and tell him, dude, you're absolutely a Hall of Famer in our book, and just keep doing what you're doing because we can't win without you.
All right. So now that I know this isn't technically the halfway mark, but now that we're at the All-Star break, what's your biggest takeaway from the first half of the Astro season?
They're kind of right where I thought they would be, especially offensively. I thought this was going to be, even without George Springer, I thought this was still going to be, if not the best, one of the very best offenses in the league. I'm a little surprised at the inconsistencies there's been, but I think probably where I'm the most pleasantly surprised is what's been happening in the rotation, how the rotation has really, really stepped up. I thought that was a huge question mark behind Zach Greinke, especially after Framber broke his finger in spring training. I was like, who's going to get anybody out in the first inning? Well, it took them a little bit of time to kind of get into the flow of things and find their mojo. But my goodness, when they did, that definitely coincides. As much as we talk about the offense, what has really made this Astros team get on the roll that they've been on over the last couple months has been the rotation. The bullpen, the reason the bullpen is pitching better is because the rotation is going deeper. The rotation isn't giving up any runs. The offense can relax and have quality at-bats, not stressing that if we only score one or two, we may not win.
Yeah, and I guess for me the big question, because I would say the first season, not to just carbon copy what you said, but I knew this offense was going to be elite. I knew that pitching was going to pose some issues. I mean, right off the bat, when you have Verlander out when, again, Framber Valdez goes out. You're like, okay, this is not going to be, we knew Springer was gone. We knew all that stuff was going to be there. And now Bregman's out for an extended period of time. And I mean, they're still doing this. They're still winning games, a lot of their games more than not, especially against the winning teams. I guess for me, the biggest takeaway is I'm surprised some of the other teams in the AL are not doing as well as advertised. Like the Yankees are not doing. And then you have the Giants, and it's like, whoa, like they're the real deal. The Red Sox are the real deal. So my question going into the second half is, what is this roster going to look like? And what is the starting 4 or 5 going to look like in a playoff scenario? Because I think this team in a smaller, shorter time span in a playoff series has a better chance of winning than over a long period of time of having to deal with all the, 20 games in a row and all the issues with injuries. You got a shorter time span. You can crunch everybody in there and you can throw your best cards at them in that short series. I think for the Astros, that bodes well for them in a smaller sample size.
Well, you have a rotation that has swing and miss in it, and that's huge in the postseason. What also I like about this Astros rotation is no one throws the ball the same. You've got the lefty. Okay, he's obviously different than any of the right-handers. But even the right-handers, none of them attack, exactly the same. Urquidy, he's a guy that I know he's on the DL right now, and I don't want to say he's had a setback, but he's kind of pushed his dates back a little bit.
Okay.
We know he can pitch in the playoffs. We've seen him pitch in the playoffs. But, he's got the fastball that plays up, and he's got the good changeup. And then, you got Garcia's got all the breaking balls, and, Lance McCullers has got the ball moving all over the place. Everybody throws the ball differently. And what that does is that doesn't let the opposing hitters get comfortable just because they're right-handed. And that bodes very well when you get into a playoff scenario. If you're winning close, if you're playing close ball games, when you have built-in off days like we do in the postseason now, then you can use your leverage relievers a lot more than you can in the regular season. So, guys like Stanek, guys like Presley, those guys can be used more in the postseason just simply because you're not looking at getting through 162 games.
So someone mentioned Jeff Blum here, talking about his video bombs during the away games. How fun is it to work with the AT&T SportsNet crew? I mean, how great are the personalities? I know we've had Julia, we've had Blummer on, and it just seems like a great place to just broadcast baseball games.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun, and we know each other well. We've been around each other a lot, and then and on the road. So people, I know they just need to remember this, that the game broadcasters, they're not traveling. They're staying in studio with us. So we're all in the studio together, and where we're doing the pre and post game and where they're calling the games, not 20 feet away. So there's conversations all the time, and we're having fun back and forth. And, it's just a great, and it's not just the on air talent. It's really, the whole broadcast crew. We just got a great bunch of people. They do a wonderful job. And listen, to make this face look good is not easy.
Well, we could probably go on and keep on this conversation going on for a long time. But Mike, thank you for jumping on, and we can have you on later on in the season as well. But this was a great walk-off win, and anytime you can beat the Yankees like this, second time this season, Jose Altuve has done this. That's great. So, guys, don't forget to listen to Locked On Astros podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, and don't forget about the Locked On Today podcast. Get all the sports news you need. All the sport news. Can't talk. Get all the sports news you need in under 20 minutes with the Locked On Today podcast. Get host Peter Pikowski update you with all the latest news in every major sports with all the local experts. Follow the Locked On Today podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you again, Mike, for joining us. And we'll join you tomorrow. We'll be back to talk about the draft. The Astros will have some draft picks tomorrow, and we'll talk to you tomorrow on the Locked On Astros podcast. Go Astros, and have a great break.